Hello, everyone. I want to say a huge good day and a huge happy spring and a huge welcome to every single community member of Brokers Playbook. Today, we have an absolute gem on the podcast. We have Michelle Risi with Royal LePage Connect. And she has an incredible both story of how she came up in real estate. I have had the pleasure of hearing the story before, and I've been anticipating the moment to have her on to share her story with others. Michelle, welcome to Brokers Playbook podcast. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. And thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here.
It's my absolute pleasure to have you here. And there's just so much different topics that we're going to be going into today because you're not the same as everyone else from the broker side, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way to the industry. I mean you've really made a conscious effort and decision in creating a difference and making a difference, and that's both to the industry and to the lives of the people that are inside your world. I want to talk about that. And I think the best place to start would be with a little bit about your story of kind of were you born into real estate, how that all came about. Who is Michelle Risi? Where do we want to start?
Oh gosh, well, that's the never-ending question, right? That's the pursuit of every question of life. But I can say I was probably born into the industry. My very first part-time job was at a real estate office as a receptionist. I was 13 years old. I lied to get the job because I was just one of those people that wanted to be financially independent, and I just wanted to be able to have my own money and feel like a grown-up. And so I jumped into that job without any training at all. Now, granted, this was before computers, before cell phones were really, mainstream.
Yeah.
And so the industry was very, very different, but I made every mistake possible. It was probably the steepest learning curve I've ever encountered. But I was got into it because my mom was in real estate. So I was raised by two entrepreneurs. My dad was in home construction and development. My mom was in real estate. And so, housing topics, recession, bank rates were like table talk for us. So I got to learn, the lingo and got really familiar that when I did get the first part-time job, I jumped in, like I said, didn't really know much and started witnessing things that back then I decided I'll never do this. It was, and again, granted, I was very young at the time, but I knew right there and then that I was different than the salespeople that I worked with and supported. And so I made that decision early on that, this could never be for me. I could never be this way. I was the very compliant, quiet one, not extroverted by any means, could be social, followed great orders, but was never that, that assertive go-getter. And so I kept the job in real estate my entire life, all the way through college, all the way through university. I have a background in teaching, a background in kinesiology. So I've done a lot in my short lifetime. I say short, I'm almost halfway. Yeah. But, along the way, my mom, Vivian, ended up opening up her own brokerage. So she went from salesperson to manager into brokerage owner. And that's when it became a family affair. And so it was myself and my siblings and my mom that worked in the business. And I kept that, a role in the family business, like I said, my entire life. And so I had the opportunity to work every capacity. Front desk, back end, you name it, I did
it. So it's interesting because I have an advantage at this very second over our community and our audience listening. I know a little bit about how you lead your brokerage and the things, kind of the principles of which you kind of live your life and choose to run your business. And that's using the align method, which kind of starts at mindset and goes into all the things that we're going to be discussing today. But I just heard you were a teacher, kinesiology, which goes into a healthy mindset needs a healthy body. So it's not hard once you start speaking to someone to start connecting the dots, in my opinion, as to why you believe certain things need to be a certain way if you want to be an overall healthy, both business person and human being. To have a proper outlook, you need to have a clean body and a clean mindset founded on specific principles. So it's easy to see your education and your personal interests tie in now to the development of your actual business.
Yeah, I'm what you would call a multi-passionate jack of all trades person. I have always just kind of followed that joy. If something was interesting, I got a certification for it. Like I just allowed that to kind of lead the way. And so for me, it was, I really do feel that I'm at a point in my life where I am using everything, like all that, the entire scavenger hunt that I went on my entire life to collect, credentials and knowledge and expertise in certain areas. I'm finally at a place where I'm putting that to use to help people.
And do you find yourself to be are you happy? Are you happy with where your path has taken you? Are you enjoying the destiny?
If you had asked me maybe 10, 15 years ago, the answer would have been different. And that's really what that pivotal moment for me was, in changing the way I approach agents and training and education and management, and changing the way I approach my life. Because there was a time that I was chasing things where I was trying to be somebody I was not, following, trying to create a business because that's the way it looked like it had to be done, as opposed to really aligning with my blueprint. Who am I? What are my visions and dreams? And what do I bring to the table? How can I do this differently? So that for me was the pivotal moment.
So for me, and this is monumental to me, as both a business leader, a family leader, me leading my own path. Do you feel that you have a clearly defined vision and mission in life?
I do. Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And whether you, and again, like you can choose to share what you want to share with us. I will always ask the question. And that question is, what is your personal vision?
Yeah, my personal vision and mission is really to be able to impart on people and help people get past themselves. My experience in life, to me, was very much weighted by fear and not being good enough, and all these obstacles that I didn't realize at the time were really me. And, having gone through that journey and having really found the courage to really change the direction of how I operate in my life and in my business, and really take a stand, like be intentional, you use that word, really be intentional and clear about what is it that I want. When I was approaching my 40s, I kind of asked the question, like, what am I signing up for now for the next 20 years? What is this going to look like? What do I want it to look like? And so it's for me to be able to give to people what I know has worked for me, what I know is ingrained in brain science, what I know, has already been proven in terms of what is getting in our way and how do we overcome that.
Well, I can't be happier for you. I personally do know my mission. I'm very, very clear in my vision, and the path and the journey that we follow every day is one with intent. I am here right now. This is part of my vision, and this is my intent to discover what makes other people tick, and for me to give what I can for you to have a stronger day from this moment on, and for me to be able to take from you what I can to make my day stronger. So people call it, does this person copy your ideas? Does this person, isn't that person your competition? And I find it all so comical that people that are in the business now 30 years, maybe 10 years older, 20 years older, are still defined by insecurity and fear.
Well, you hit it on the nose, Simeon. The fact that you have clarity on your vision is the reason why you're able to stay in your lane, stay on course, and not get clouded or pulled in a million directions because of fears or insecurities. And that's the reality of how we're wired. It's how our brain is wired. And that's why it's so important to have clarity on that vision and mission. Because if your brain doesn't know where you want to go, then in the absence of having that clear vision, that purpose, or that intention, any decision, here's the reality. Life is a culmination of decisions. That's what it is.
Michelle, in the absence of a clear vision, you have doubt and fear.
Well, you have no choice but to look outside of yourself, and you have no choice to look at what other people are doing. And then that's when the comparisonitis sets in. That's when you start getting caught in shiny object syndrome, because every idea is a great idea. Everything works. But you need to find the key to success is finding that alignment. What's going to work for me? What's going to help me take aligned action in my business? Not just any action, the one that's going to move me forward as opposed to all over the place.
I love that. And that's exactly what we're going to get into. I do want to make a clarification to our community listening to this message, because it's important. I don't want anybody for a second to mistake a clear vision and confidence with arrogance, with a judgmental set of eyes. Because when I say somebody's in the business 10 or 20 years longer, or hasn't found it, that's an observation. And I'm not saying it from a position that I am bigger, better, faster than anyone. I'm trying to say is that I can see, because I have found my vision, because I've put in the time, energy, and intent in finding my vision could be lower, higher, straighter, more curvaceous than somebody else's. Mm-hmm. But I have found it. And that gives me the confidence to be able to proceed every day with strength and intent. So I from this episode, because I know what's coming, I personally know what's coming. I hope people will be able to take away this very principle that we're talking about these first 10 minutes of having a clear and defined vision and mission for themselves to be able to fulfill. Literally, you change as a person. You literally change as a person. The minute that you wake up every morning and you're chipping away at exactly what you know you need to be doing, you change. You're different.
Yeah. And your results are because of the actions you take, and those actions you take are because of the decisions you make, and those decisions are driven by the thoughts that you're having. So that's where the alignment principle comes in. It's really, this is, once upon a time, this was called woo-woo, when people would talk about affirmations and meditation and vision, vision boarding, they didn't yet understand the science behind it, but the science has proven why these things work. Those are methods. Those are ways of—
Michelle, start from scratch.
Start from scratch. Okay. Here's what I see.
So today we are talking about what you believe and live every day, which is the aligned method to this business. We're talking about the real estate business. You're speaking to your brothers and sisters in arms that are out there every day, bar none, looking at opportunity, looking at the best and better and stronger ways to serve their client, but they are bombarded with a million different messages. I want to speak only about what you believe in, because it's strong, it's enlightening, and it's effective. I want you to start with what the aligned method is and how does one implement it into their lives.
Sure. I can start that by saying what I see are realtors trying hard. What I see are realtors trying their best. What I see are realtors coming to the table with courage to start a business, because that in itself takes courage and vision and persistence. The problem that they run into, that most of us run into, is we lose sight of where we're going. We lose confidence because we're constantly comparing. And so despite all this hard work, despite all this, I've come into this business for whatever reason that is. I mean, the reality is people come into the business usually not out of high school. It's not something that most people say, I want to be a realtor when I grow up. This is a second, third, fourth career path. And it's usually driven by lifestyle decisions. So you've got a young family or an aging parent or another job, or you want to just pursue a different way of being. It's usually out of that drive for freedom, fulfillment, financial success. I call that the entrepreneur's trifecta. This is why people get into business for themselves. They don't want to have to put a vacation request in a year in advance, or, ask for permission to take a day off because they're sick. They want to have that freedom and control over their life and their decisions. So that's the first driving force that gets us here. And then once we're here, why is it that despite all the hard work, despite the amount of hustle and grind, despite everything that we do, we're still not achieving that goal? And it has nothing to do, I strongly believe it has nothing to do with your experience, your age, how long you've been in the business, how smart you are. Success has nothing to do with that. Success is about understanding where you want to go and making sure that the decisions that you are making are aligned with that goal. Because here's what happens, and here's what was happening for me. Despite saying I want to spend more time with my family and, growing up, seeing the sacrifices that realtors made, because again, I was raised in the industry. I've been in the industry for over 30 years. I've worked full time with realtors for over 20 of those years. I know the sacrifices. They might achieve financial success, but at what cost? There's always a cost to this pursuit.
I love the fact that you're breaking down success, because financial success does not mean success.
No.
At all.
It doesn't. And again, if we come back to why did you get into the business, right? You got into the business so that you could have time freedom. You got into the business so that you can feel impactful, make a difference, whether it's for your family or for the other people around you. So why is it that we have such a hard time achieving it? It's not because we don't know how. There are things that are getting in the way, and those things are what are the beliefs that are driving the decisions that you make? Because I said my family was important. I said I never wanted to work so hard that I was neglecting my family or never home for them. That was my goal and dream. And yet, why was I continually saying yes to things that I didn't want to do, filling my calendar, hustling and grinding, and then ending up in burnout? So I went completely opposite of what I actually wanted. And this is what happens in our industry specifically. I mean, it happens everywhere, but we're talking about the real estate industry specifically. Any kind of independent professional, that entrepreneur that wants to build and grow and still have freedom, fulfillment, financial success, all of that, we run into these obstacles. And so in my experience, in the work that I did to really overcome and look at why was I making decisions that weren't aligned with what I wanted, I knew clearly what I wanted, but why was I making the decisions that went against that? Why was it that I was moving further away from my goal as opposed to towards it? And that's when I started learning more about the brain science. And through the work that I did, and then through the work that I've now done with realtors through coaching and mentorship, it is very clear that the way the brain is wired, first of all, our brains are not wired for success. Our brains are wired for safety and efficiency. That is its primary job.
Survival.
It's survival. And so why then are we continuously going about our days and this safety switch keeps getting activated in our brain, and it's causing us to respond out of fear. It's causing us to stay safe. It's causing us to procrastinate. All of these things that are called those brake pedal behaviors, procrastination, perfectionism, comparisonitis, imposter syndrome, all of these behaviors that we engage in, we're not doing them because we're consciously aware that we're doing them. We're doing them in response to a threat that our brain is perceiving. So why is entrepreneurship being seen as a threat? Well, when you look at the way the brain is wired, the brain uses our belief system as a lens for making decisions. So if I say I want to spend more time with my family, but my ideal of success, what I believe to be true about success, is that I need to hustle and grind and be busy all the time, then the brain is going with that because that has been what's wired in my brain. That is the mechanism, that's the programming and the information that I've stored and programmed. So that's what it's going to use in spite of my vision. Does that make sense?
Well, you just think you know me so well. Well, no, but you're speaking to me and it's like looking in the mirror. Like the only things that I still battle every day is to make this very simple. I work 12 to 16 hours a day It's just because that's what I do and I love it. So I don't look for excuses for it, but I still struggle with why my brain can't rest. There are definitely a few things that I still have to figure out. And maybe as this insight keeps pouring in, I will, because as I said earlier, sometimes it may sound like I'm coming from a position of that I have it all figured out, but I can truly tell you without a doubt that there's no person with more dichotomy and sometimes in more doubt than me, because I'm so, when I commit so hard.
Yeah.
So it's, when you do that, you always run amok. Did I make the right call?
Yeah.
So keep speaking, because you're speaking to me. I'm hoping that many people, you're making our community feel this, because it needs to be felt, and we need to get better. I want you to keep going. I want you to keep.
Yeah, no, listen, I hope it's resonating, because at the end of the day, I know somebody said to me, oh, you just, it's so simple. You just want people to be happy. Yeah, I do. The world is a much better place when people are happy. Let's face it. But I really want people to get this, because I need people to understand that if you really want to achieve the things that you want to achieve, then you are the only one standing in your way. It's you, your thoughts, and your beliefs, not anybody else. And I couldn't have arrived at that place had I not gone through my journey, had I not started learning more about brain science and how we are wired to make decisions and take action. And so it was through this. So when you understand that the brain's model of decision making rests on those beliefs that you have, then you can start asking yourself, so what is it that I do believe about success? You said you're working, 16 hours a day. You can't get your mind to shut off. You're always engaged. That might just be part of your blueprint, number one. But if those decisions are taking you away from something else that you say is important, then that's your cue to go back and say, why? What is it that I'm believing in this situation to be true? And so the align method that I developed was really it's really an explanation or a process for how do you go from where you are to where you want to go? How do you get transformation and achievement? And when you follow the steps, it really breaks it down. The first one is awareness. So the steps, I'll just kind of lay it out. It's awareness, it's learning and unlearning, it's inquiry, it's growth, and it's nurturing. When you follow that process, that is the process for transformation and achievement. That's how you go from where you are to where you want to go. So awareness is the first one, not because the letter is A, but it actually is the most important step in the process. If you are not self-aware, if you do not have the awareness around what the thoughts are that you're thinking, what the beliefs are that are driving and running your decisions, how can you possibly make change? Then you're always running in this automated autopilot mode, and you're not consciously aware of what's happening. So here's what happens in the brain. We know that the brain uses the beliefs as the lens to make decisions. So I say, I want to spend more time with my family. This is why I get into the business. And yet I find myself filling my calendar, working 18 hours a day, hustling and grinding and burning out. It's because the beliefs I have around success and what success looked like to me are what the brain is using, not my goals. So if I'm not, first of all, aware that there's a disconnect or a misalignment in that, then I can't possibly change that, which then leads then to that learning and unlearning. We have to be open to understanding that we are habitual creatures. Everything we do is because of the hardwiring in our brain. We've taught our brain how to think. We've taught our brain how to act. And so when we talk about beliefs, specifically limiting beliefs, I do not believe we were born with limiting beliefs. The fact that we could at one point stick our hand on a hot stove without any worry tells me there was no fear. There is no fear. And so we go through life exploring until something happens or until somebody corrects us. And
Yes.
That's the moment that beliefs are formed. And so those limiting beliefs that we have are usually very, very young. And when I do the work that I do with agents, one of the number one things comes to the surface is when you identify, first of all, what your belief is around money. Let's just take money matters as an example. What is it that you believe to be true about money? Those belief systems usually have nothing to do with your personal experience. They were things that you saw, witnessed, and were shared with you from a very young age. So what age of you is running your business right now?
Wow.
It's probably not you. It's not you present day. It's everything. It's all the trauma and experiences and things that have happened since you were very young.
So literally the kitchen table that we grew up at, hearing our father or our mother, their opinion of money, their opinion of financial security, their opinion of success, which formed our beliefs, are going to be either in line with where we are today, but if they are not, we need to learn and unlearn in order to be compatible with what our personal vision is.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is so powerful and so true.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not so much that, these beliefs that we carry, it's not about looking at all these beliefs and trying to change everything. You're just trying to understand and get clarity and be able to identify what are the ones that are standing in my way. What are the ones that I'm getting hung up on today? If I keep hitting a wall with financial success and I'm doing all the right things, but something is just stopping me, I just can't get to the next level, then identifying what your money beliefs are is probably a great place to start. What does it mean to have money? What does it mean to not have money? How much is too much? What perception do you have about people who are rich or poor? What are those beliefs that you have? And you're right, those happen at the kitchen table. And from my young age, being, raised by two entrepreneur parents, I knew what I thought I knew was entrepreneurship was risky. You can lose a lot of money. Sure, you can make a lot of money, but you're going to lose it very quickly. And then there's this thing called recession that you have no control over. And so, wow, do you really have control? And so you build these up. And the thing with the brain is the more you repeat and the more they're reinforced, the more automated they become, which is why we're not aware of why we make the decisions that we make. Perfect example is you getting in your car, driving home from work. And we've all had this experience where you pull up in your driveway and you're like, how did I even get here? Like, I don't remember stopping at the stop sign or passing that school. It's automated because we've done it so often that those neural networks in the brain can fire without you consciously being aware of it. It drives 90% of our daily decisions. This autopilot system, which is great because it keeps things efficient for us, because if we had to think about every little thing, we wouldn't be able to get out of bed in the day, right? We'd be thinking about the sheets against our skin and the air and the smell, and everything would just be on overload. So this
as opposed to knowing that the smell of bread is because we're driving by the bakery we drive
exactly.
So you're referring to, and this is huge because it's true. I'm really digging
things. Yeah, but these are the things that we are not often talked about, which is why I'm so committed to talking about it in our industry, because I know that it's us. We all know it's us standing in our way. It's just really hard to be consciously aware of that when we're running on autopilot. And so this autopilot mechanism controls 90% of our daily decisions, which means when that client asks you to cut your commission, are you saying yes or no because it's a good business decision? Or are you saying yes or no because of this faulty programming around your limiting beliefs about money, about clients, how easy or hard it is to find them? Are you making that decision out of fear? Are you feeling less than or not good enough and therefore you need to compensate for that? Like, what is really driving the decision? If you don't bring awareness to that, then chances are it's happening on a subconscious level. So that's why it's the awareness, it's the learning and unlearning. And then inquiry is the process of questioning. That's really the process of unraveling. A big part of what I do in my programs are identifying, eliminate, and rewiring the things that are standing in our way. It's really rewiring the brain for success. Because if you know that all of these things are programmed and they're old and they're not serving you clearly, or we would be seeing results in what we want, then how do we go through the process to identify, eliminate, and rewire? And so inquiry process is that way that we do that. And then the growth and the nurturing are really the what comes next. Our industry there is no shortage of amazing coaches and mentors and inspirational speakers and programs.
Really?
We have an abundance of support available to us, but why do we only see short-term results? And the reason we see short-term results is because we fail to put in those growth and nurture sequences that have to happen, and to really understand that if you want to change your results long-term, you have to change your mindset first. Everything starts there.
Isn't it interesting? Because I literally, my team meetings is Fridays. Today is Friday. And it's actually the last Friday of April. Heading into it was Q2's first month, and I'm talking about production. I'm seeing record production. But I went into what I saw this happen in April is I saw my agents create a whole bunch of ad campaigns. I saw a whole bunch of activity, but those are transactions, not relationships. Mm-hmm. So I went a little bit into that, noticing that nobody on my team is allowed to become a transactional agent. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying no to money. I'm not saying don't do business. I'm saying do all the business in the world. But what happens to every single client that you just worked? Are they tossed? Mm-hmm. Because we like to pay for new leads for the sake of having leads? Because once we pay for them, once they've transacted and we have trust, you go off looking for new leads again, as opposed to taking care of the guy who actually likes you.
And you got to ask why.
And I don't want to shift the conversation.
Yeah.
But I'm saying what you just said relates directly to mindset of new biz.
Yep. Well, it's mindset and skill set. You need both. You do need both in order to achieve success, but everything starts in the mind first. Because I can give you every secret to success. If your beliefs are not aligned with where you want to go, the brain will always make the wrong decisions for you. And you'll always end up struggling, and you'll always end up making decisions that don't feel right. And then you're going to beat yourself up for not doing your calls today or coming into the office late, instead of just having acceptance of this aligns. I'm making conscious decisions. We run our life so unconsciously that we're not aware of why we do things. So automatically then what gets triggered is, oh, I made a mistake. Ooh, I'm not good enough. Ooh, I must be doing it wrong. These are all those limiting beliefs that are running in us, whether we realize it or not. So until you stop and really get to that, the source, because we're so used to treating the symptom. The symptoms of our business are, I'm not getting enough leads. Let me pay for some lead generation. I'm not able to convert. Let me get a negotiating, help in negotiating. I can't do X, Y, and Z. Let me try a new time management strategy. So it's very symptom based, which is fine, but that will only get you halfway there. If you're never looking at the source of what's driving those decisions to begin with, then you're always going to end up looping back. And that's where I'm committed to saying, we need to stop this, because the success that we want is not that hard to attain. It just takes work to come back to what's driving our decisions.
Well, what you're saying, and again, I'm going to try to reframe things and regurgitate it to be able to hit more people. Because what you just explained, some people get, and some people need to hear from a different way. Sure. Meaning, all Michelle is saying is, don't stop being reactive. Stop reaching for the Band-Aid after you get the cut. How about we learn how to sharpen the knife and use the knife before we take the tomato and we slide off onto the hand?
And how about you make sure that knife is the one that you need? Because just because Simeon says it works for him doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And that's what I'm talking about, the decisions. I mean, you can go back to why do agents not follow up? Because that is the number one complaint in our industry. Number one, it hasn't changed in 20 years. So why are we continuously falling into the I'm not following up? We don't want to be transactional. I truly believe that. I do not believe that the majority of people want to be transactionally based, but why are we ending up that way? What is the fear? I can tell you one of the fears. If I keep this relationship open, what if something goes wrong? Now what? Now I have to be accountable for it. There's a fear of accountability. There's a fear of owning someone else's problems. So it's very easy. Oh, once it's done, they do the sign of the cross. So they're good. I'm done. On to the next. And so there's again, those beliefs that are running underneath that are driving those decisions. Why are you not following up? What is it? Does it feel hard? What is it about it that is causing you not to just do the work that you know you need to do?
Yeah, and see, to me, that there is no better place you'd rather put me than to speak to people who know me, that I love, and they love me. For me, I've never understood it. It's why it was so easy for me to succeed. I found real estate like an open road.
That's
People
because
are
you're
like,
a high influence person.
no, but it's the way I view things. Like people are like, oh no, that area, Risi, that's her area, and she's owned that area for 30 years. Michelle Risi hasn't called anyone in 10 years because her phone rings too much. All I had to do is, if I pay this much more attention, they're mine. The next neighborhood, the other Michelle Risi. The next neighborhood, the other Michelle Risi.
Well, what's the saying? If you want something bad enough, you'll find a way. If you don't, you'll find an excuse. And it's the excuses that we come up with that keep us safe. That's the brain's response to fear.
It is, and I believe it wholeheartedly. I have seen so many incredible agents born at the same time as me. Like I've been in the business for 15 years. I came from the hospitality sector. I came from the banking sector. I made a conscious decision to I hit a ceiling in my previous positions where I said, like, I can't be like, I'm way too ambitious. You don't put me in a box and tell me to wait till somebody dies for me to get to the next. What? I have to pray for someone's demise to grow? Like, are you kidding me? Yeah, so literally within 3 months, when I had that conversation with my director of operations, and they said, well, like the next position is me. And I looked at him and was like, so what are you saying? Yeah. I have to knock you off your stool to get here?
Yeah.
And he goes, well, pretty much, or when I leave. I'm like, so I'm at the mercy of your lifestyle, or I have to find a way to get you fired.
Neither of which are good.
So
yeah,
I literally said it verbatim. Then I was like, is this true? Is what you're telling me your word? And he goes, yeah, it is. I was like, so myself, I said, Tatiana, there's a bunch of us, all kind of at the same place. I said, we're all going to have this conversation and you're going to say what you told me to everyone else too. And he said, yeah. I said, okay. So I just wanted to know that I didn't misunderstand you.
Right.
I knew clear as day that it was done that day. Done. The minute you put a limitation, the minute you give me, like, anybody is going to tell me, like, nobody tells me what my limit is. I will tell you what my limit is.
Yeah.
And I have gone past my limit.
Right. Exactly. And that's a sign of entrepreneurial spirit, right? Like, it's not to say that everybody should be running out to start a business, right? Again, it comes back to alignment. Does it align with you? Is this what you want? Let's come back to, so you said something interesting, the easiest thing for you was to talk to the people that already like, know, and trust you. Yes. And I'll tell you, there's a big fear around that for a lot of people because it feels more vulnerable and risky. They'd rather deal with people they don't know because it doesn't feel like there's as much at stake. So again, that's the fear coming in, and the brain responds by having you make decisions to keep you safe. Oh, we don't want to, no, don't get too close with them. No, that's not a good thing. Let's just go on to the new person.
But why can't we apologize in advance for our shortcomings? I do it all the time. Like I will give you one of my trade secrets. The biggest, like when I want to speak about my own shortcomings, I will tell people as soon as I introduce myself that I've been disappointing people since 1980. It's only a matter of time until I start disappointing you too.
You're hilarious.
So they look at me and they laugh because it's funny.
Yeah. Well, you present it in such a way, but it's not.
But it also makes me human, Michelle.
Absolutely, it does. But that's the biggest vulnerable. That is the most vulnerable place to be, is admitting that we're human. What I tell, the conversation has to change.
What I tell my clients that I've known for 20 years, what I tell my clients who I'll meet tomorrow is I can start with that joke, and people who know me have heard it a million times. But I end up in a very serious conversation saying that I'm not a perfect person. Yes, I thank you. Thanks to your friend Steve who recommended me. I couldn't be more honored. But don't think for 1 second that I haven't let Steve down once, and that I won't let you down once. If my phone goes to voicemail and I don't check my voicemail for 2 days, I put the onus on you for not texting me 20 minutes later, calling me an asshole, and say, call me back, because I'm human too.
Yep.
And I don't want, so when you set, so this goes out to everyone who has that fear of following up because of the increase in expectation. How about you acknowledge the fact that you're allowed to let someone down? Because people let you down, you let people down. We're not perfect, we're not machines. Things slip. But if your intention is always there with absolute conviction that you are looking out for your friend, for your client, I barely know you, and there's not a lot of things I wouldn't do for you because I genuinely care about my fellow human beside me.
And that comes back to where you first started the conversation, and that is because you are clear. When you don't have that clarity, you're not running from a clear place. You're running from perfectionism. Oh, God forbid I make a mistake. I can't put this out there. I mean, we see this all the time in the simplest things. How many people listening right now have had a reel or a TikTok or a video sitting in their drafts folder waiting to get published, and they still can't do it because it's not ready enough. It's not perfect enough. I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I sound. As opposed to, see, here's the other caveat to success. It's understanding that you're working towards your why, not your I. When I work towards my I, it's selfish. And there's nothing wrong with being selfish. But of course, it's going to trigger all these limiting beliefs because it's all about me. When I come into a situation and I'm leading with my why, it has nothing to do with me. The brain is not registering a fear or a threat because it's not about me. It's about how am I showing up to serve. And that's where I strongly believe selling is serving. And if you can approach it in that way, you're already bypassing that automatic loop in the brain that wants to keep you safe. There's nothing to keep you safe from. You're showing up wholeheartedly, giving and helping to serve. It's leading with your why, not your I. That is the biggest. If there's one takeaway, that's the easiest takeaway, to have from this conversation is don't show up serving your I, serve your why. Because when you're serving the why in the bigger picture, it's that much easier. It's not about you.
I need you to define or try to define the steps one needs to take to create their vision. So what steps or awarenesses does one need to sit down tonight? I'm going to sit down. I'm going to be by myself for an hour. Mm-hmm. What are some of the key trains of thought that I need to have clarity around in order to define who I am, where I want to go, in order for me now to build the mission, which is how to get there?
Right.
So let's separate the vision and the mission.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a vision, you're on someone else's mission. That's guaranteed. So let's start with a vision. We're trying to be aligned, and I'm going to push everyone or maybe what I'll do is we'll put a condensed version of your offering of the aligned agent, and I'll push that out to the entire community for them to enjoy and be able to take away from as a broker's playbook, a playbook on your alignment. Maybe we'll get something like that out there. Okay. But to get started on vision, give me some of those key elements that I need to consider to be able to define it.
Yeah. And I'm glad you asked that, because that's actually one of the first pieces or modules in the program that's going to be released very shortly. I'm not sure when this will air, but it's imminent now. The very first step when you're sitting down to create any vision, could be your life vision, it could be your health vision, it could be relationships, it could be business and professional. The first thing to understand and notice, there's the awareness piece again, is when I sit down to write my income goal, or I sit down to paint the picture of what I want my life to look like. What is my role? What do I want to be doing in my business? Start noticing the thoughts that creep in that are stopping you, because most people don't get the opportunity to build their vision because we have all of these automatic negative thoughts. We call them ants. All these little ants show up and they wreak havoc on your party, and they start, who are you to put that goal? That'll never happen. That's too hard. If you do this, you're not smart enough. And this is where all of those beliefs come up. Working with agents that come from different cultures, very, very much so ingrained into, do you have enough education to have the authority to do this? Are females allowed in the culture to be able to do this? These are things that start to come up. You don't realize what's been ingrained in your belief system until you sit down and dream big. Because the moment you start putting those big, audacious goals down on paper, that's when the brain's going to start showing you all these automatic negative thoughts that show up that start telling you you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you haven't been in the business long enough. Who are you to put down that income goal? Oh, you want to only work 4-hour work week? And it starts knocking you off your feet before you even have a chance to get it out on paper. So I think that right there is the crux of where most people get stuck, is they might put a number out, but is it truly the number that you want? You might paint the vision for success, but is it truly the vision you want? Or is it the expectation that you think other people have of you, or what you think you need to be saying?
So how do you separate it? Because what you're saying rings so true. Like just the fact that you called them ants. One little ant on one massive watermelon gets the whole freaking watermelon tossed.
Yep. Doesn't take much.
So how do you protect your mind?
Yeah. Well, so this is exactly what we do in the program. This is called brain rewiring. It's how do you rewire? How do you exterminate these little ants that are showing up? When you notice them, what do you do to get rid of them? And the very, very easy technique to use is to debate them, question them. We have a tendency to believe every thought we think, and it's not necessarily true. And so when you sit down to do your dream board or your vision or whatever that is, and you start noticing that little voice, because it's been there, you just haven't been aware of it. When you start to notice you can't make that. Who are you? You're a single mom, you're a divorced dad, you're a whatever comes up. As soon as you recognize that, write it down. And the minute you write it down and look at it, the first question you're going to ask yourself is that true? Number one. And would I want my child or best friend to think that? Speak those words out loud, and imagine you're saying it to your child if you have children. And if you don't have children, imagine you're saying it to your 8-year-old self. Because right there is where you're going to call your bluff. Right there is where you're going to see, is this truly a thought that I need to have, that I want to have? Is it true? Or is this just old programming that I'm running with? Because, back when I was 8, my friends left me and told me that I was stupid, or whatever those situations were that we've been made to believe that we're not good enough or pretty enough or smart enough or whatever it is, right? We've all had them. We don't get through childhood unscathed. Nobody does. So we all have these experiences that lead us to these core beliefs about who we are. So when you sit down, when you notice the thoughts, write that thought down and look at it for what it is. Say those words out loud. And I promise you, the minute you envision saying this to your child, you will feel something deep inside you that makes you want to shudder. I would never say to my child half the things I think to myself. Never. And the moment you can just
all of us do that.
All of us.
None of us would tell our kids the doubts, the fears, you
can't do that yet. You need to wait until you do this for 10 years before you can get that. We would never say that. So it's writing it down. It's then disputing it. And then once you dispute it, you really need to make a conscious effort to rewire the brain to say, okay, I get that that's the thought that's been programmed in there. What is the thought I need to have? What is the one I need to have in order to achieve the outcome I want? And here's the thing. I get that you don't believe it yet. That's not the point. The point is calling out those thoughts and beliefs that are holding you back and replacing them with one that is aligned with where you want to go. Because if we can put those limiting thoughts in our brain, we can take them out and rewire them.
Michelle Risi, you are a legend.
You're just always so I walk away feeling so good after speaking with you, Simeon.
Michelle Risi, you are a legend. You're a beautiful human being, and you're making a difference. The only thing I'm going to say to you is that you're going to be back within, I think, 6 weeks or so, or should we be lucky enough to have you back. in 6 weeks or so. I want your course to launch. I want to check it out. I want to participate. And I want to be able to offer it to the entire community, because I have no doubt it will be everything we just kind of talked about and more.
And more.
For me, what I value is anything that can make me reflect and identify areas of concern. And I know many of those, like I have so much trauma that was caused with the passing of my mom. I have so many different things that affect me on a daily basis. And I have no two fucking ways about speaking about it, because I just don't. I've received so much help and support from my fellow brothers and sisters in the business, where I don't have a line of personal versus business. Like, this is my life that I chose by design. So if I'm going to be anywhere for 10 hours a day, I better damn well be comfortable where I am. So that's the way I see it. Nobody else has to see it the way I do, but I do. So I have tons of work to do on tons of areas. And you literally, every time we're on Clubhouse together, every time that we spend some time, you always have a unique ability of making me reflect. And I think that's a unique ability by certain people. And the only people who can do that are people who want to do that. I think you want the people around you to think. I think you enjoy stirring up someone's mind and making them better. So I don't think you're out to exploit it. I think you're out to endorse it, to own it.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that. And it's true. I've spent a year building out this program. And my husband said, so, how many people are you expecting to buy it? And I said, you know what? However many people need it. Like, I'm not in it to exploit it. It really is. There's only one of me. And here's the truth. Here's how the program was born. I'm only one person who is very clear about how much time they're willing to invest in certain things, how much time I can invest in certain things without sacrificing or compromising my peace, my family, my health, my well-being, and my business, because I run a busy business, right? I've got 6 locations, 300 realtors in combination with our sister company. So we're over 1,300 realtors. There's a reason why they say, if you want something done, give it to a busy person. It's not because we have superpowers. It's because we're really good at prioritizing.
Yeah, you're executing.
And I'm very clear on my priorities. So when I started getting this huge demand for, can you work with me? There's only one of me. And I hated saying no. I hated saying I couldn't. I hated doing something half-assed because I didn't have the time.
So you found a way to scale yourself.
So I found a way to scale myself. And again, if one person buys the program, I'm ecstatic, because it's one person that is going to be seeing the transformation of achievement that they need to see, because it's not about what I want for people. It's absolutely, that is the furthest from my mind. It's not what I want for people. It's what you want. How can I help you get that?
So Michelle, and again, like, into all our entire community, if you know a Michelle, find a Michelle and bring her to Broker's Playbook. For the time being, I'm the one finding the Michelles. So, and I will say this is our community, not my community. Michelle's program, I will definitely get and check out. There's no doubt about it, because I'm interested. And I am interested, and I'm putting it out there to both you, Michelle, and every single other business leader, thought leader, community leader, and every member of our audience who's making their way every day to achieve more. If you know of a program that has changed your life, you need to share it. It's actually your duty to share it, because that program that you share, maybe Michelle never saw it. Maybe it's going to inspire her to write the next chapter of her program based on it, and reach more people and help more people and feel happier and be more successful. Because the definition of success, to anybody who's tasted real success, and I've been so blessed, is actual fulfillment. Nothing to do with money, nothing to do with business, nothing to do with family, but a combination of your own truth. And I have, on many occasions, looked out in the horizon with my kids on my lap and my wife beside me on a beautiful ocean that I was on vacation, which really touched success financially, family, mentally. I was able to breathe salty air overlooking the Mediterranean, where greater men and women than us ever have lived and stepped on. Like, just all these things. This is what we're talking about. It's the whole thing that matters. You can't be a good broker if you're not a good person. You can't be a good person if your life is governed by bullshit or your own insecurities, which are caused by other people's bullshit.
Well, and here's the thing, we are whole. We're not compartmentalized. As much as we have been programmed to run that way, we are not. And so if your health is capping out at a 7, guess what your business is going to cap out at? 7. If your relationships are capped out at a 5, what do you think your business is going to cap out at? So they all intermingle. Everything affects everything else. This is what alignment is. This is why I say alignment is the key to success, because it's how we're wired. And when we can come intentionally, when we have clarity, when we can bring our level of awareness up, and when we can really consciously say, I'm making decisions because they're the right decisions for me, that's when you're going to stop stepping in those little potholes of procrastination and perfectionism and comparisonitis and all those things that keep us stuck and safe, but nowhere near where we want to go.
Michelle Risi, I love you and your beautiful mind. I thank you again for being here. I'm gonna end this on such a massive note. Thank you for all your insight and your contribution today. I look forward in having you as soon as you're finished your work. Let us know. We're gonna put it on high blast all over our channels and yell it from the rafters to give you a hand in changing as many lives as you possibly can.
Awesome. Well, it's launching May 11th, the day after my birthday. I was going to do it on my birthday, and somebody was like, you don't want that stress. Don't do that stress.
So we're talking about another Torosito over here, eh?
Yes.
May 2nd, right here, 2 days.
Oh, nice. 2 days. Well, happy early birthday. But yes, it's due to launch May 11th. It's called Mindset to Millions. So that you can rewire your brain for success, whatever that looks like for you. And again, it's that trifecta that we're after.
I mean, I don't like to ask for things, but I mean, a birthday present, millions, kind of sounds in order.
Right? There you go, guys. You know what Simeon wants.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Appreciate it.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Good. That's awesome.
Thank you. You're so sweet. You're so gracious, Simeon.
What an episode. It's going to be the best episode ever, just saying.
Yeah. You're so funny.
I'm being dead serious. I fucking love this episode. This is my jam. I
am a little bit different. You don't get people wanting to talk deep, but that's what that's what I thrive on. That's not superficial conversations.
I don't like bullshit. I can't stand bullshit.
Like, I'm not a highly aggressive person. Don't get me wrong. I don't hit people right here, but I like to have meaningful conversations. That to me is what, like, I walk away going, okay, I'm good. Like, I just had the best conversation and I can carry on with my day.
I was speaking to Storm.
Yeah.
Last week, and I'm putting together some new plans for Clubhouse for this. It's just been so busy I can't even breathe. But we're going to be launching once weekly Friday mornings.
Yeah.
How are your Friday mornings for a permanent spot?
What time? Like right now,
9 to 10:30, 9:30 to 11. Hard.
Well, I have a coaching right now. I've got somebody that one of my top agents. So it's every Friday, but I can see if we can move it.
So I would be honored. So this isn't even a conversation.
Oh, you're so sweet. And if I couldn't do it every one, would you be open to just, when I can make that work?
Of course. But it'll be in your calendar every week.
Yeah.
So make it or don't make it. But so if you're open to that, that's number one.
Perfect.
And number two, I am literally, so for my agents, 45 of them, I'm looking for, there's a few products that I like. Are you making the alignment method an actual course?
It is. So yeah, the Mindset to Millions is the first program that I'm launching.
But is it a book or is it an online course?
Online course. No, it's an online self-paced course with a private membership group. And it's 7 modules, and it's basically taking you through all of those steps, like creating the vision. How do you find those ants? How do you exterminate them? How do you then identify the thoughts and beliefs that you do need? How do you rewire the brain so that you have the beliefs that you can work with? And then at the end, you're actually executing. So one of the biggest struggles that agents go through is the procrastination. They know exactly what they need to do, they just don't do it. So how do you get them in action? So
put this on your agenda.
Yeah.
I want you to build me a 1-page or a 3-page broker's playbook. That's going to be your contribution to the industry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not looking for money because I don't need it, God bless. But I'm going to put your product on the Broker's Playbook website permanently.
Oh my gosh. Thank
you. And people can download the playbook and get a taste of what it is. And if they want it, they click it and go to your site, and you'll see that.
You're amazing. Thank you, Simeon.
Tons of it. Talk to you soon.
Have a good one. Bye.